All right, so welcome to another video from the chart reader. So we are going to be looking at energy and oil, and if you were looking at the stock market today, you will know that oil killed it. We'll get to some of the bigger ones in a little bit, but like always, we're going to look at the daily and the weekly. I make these videos roughly 1 week out, so I've been adding the weekly. We're going to emphasize the moving averages and these support and resistance lines that I draw, and then again, we'll use these lower indicators as our reassurance. So OXY, look. Oxy just killed it once it broke the 64 line, right? This actually broke because of news, and there was some good news. I think something happened with Warren Buffett's buyout. I think they approved it, or give or take. I didn't read the details, but massive break, pretty much a run to the 70. A little bit of a cool off, but look, it stayed above 50%, right? Like half the candle is probably about there, give or take, right? So it did stay above 50%. And look, a little bit of uncertainty, but when you get just such a huge gap and you're pretty much under the line and then you break it, I mean, look, there were a number of ways you can use this old video to play it, and I hope you did. I also remember being a little bullish on Oxy, right? So these lower indicators do look good. RSI is a little high, but again, I'm comfortable in the low 70s, right? It's once we start to get to 75, 80 that I get comfortable, right? We've seen some over 80, 88, 90s, right? So it could happen, but again, low 70s is still roughly okay. But I love that we broke this line right here, right? Coming to the weekly. So this line up here looks to be an old... Oops. Okay, too much is happening. Hold on. Let me do it like this. Let me do the full view. Okay, so we're going to add some lines off the weekly. I think that's going to be the safest thing to do. Let me kind of tighten up this view. 1 second, just for accuracy. And look how far back we're going, right? I don't know what this date actually is. Let me see. 2011. So yeah, it's over a decade of data right here for these lines, right? So you know there's some pretty good lines that we are drawing here. We'll put one roughly right there. We'll put one up here. But I mean, look how high we're going to start making these lines, right? Like these are now in the hundreds. So keep that in mind. And then I think I'll throw one on this peak right here. That is pretty good. So let me bring us back to today. Yeah, I mean, look, if we can break this little tranche in the 80s, there's a good climb coming, right? Also, just looking at the weekly, those are some good lower indicators on the weekly, right? If you see here, actually, this is the first time the green's peaking out since actually June. So a lot of time with the green under the red. Now we're starting to peak it, right? Look, it doesn't look like much, don't get me wrong. But again, it's been months underneath it. So don't take that for granted at all, right? But again, I'd love some follow through. But look, we've gotten so much follow through already, right? We broke both the green and the orange, the 8 and the 20, got confirmation this week, got another little confirmation going this week, right? So I love it. Oxy still looks bullish, actually. It really does. Oh my goodness, INDO. Oh my goodness. That's a little Friends right there. My wife makes me watch Friends. So what happened here? Look, nothing but breaking the lines, right? That's really what happened. Let's zoom in and get the picture. I don't know what made this happen. We can call it a bounce of this line, right? You can see it's been playing in this channel, but this right here was a very monster break. When did this happen? This happened on the 18th, okay? From there was a little bit of a cool down. Again, kind of expected, right? Looks like this 701 line pretty much caught us to the T. And then I've said it a couple times, if this 8 line broke, there was a really nice run to this, and that's pretty much what we saw, right? So we're over the 200. We actually tested a break of the 100 today, right? It got as high as here today. Closed here, but nothing bad to say. It doesn't look like it's crashing after hours either, which is like we just went up a little bit. That's good, right? Often, if you get a 48 banger, right, on one day, you'll see -10, -15 after hours. So it's very reassuring to see that that didn't happen. But look, Our RSI is a little high, okay? We're definitely at 82 right now. We haven't been anywhere near this high in a long time. So very important to look at volume tomorrow, right? I could easily see us coming down back to this 200, right? What is that? 1067, give or take. Let's get the exact number. 1066. So I could see us coming back to this 1066 to test this. Hopefully it doesn't go any lower than 50%, right? And that's almost $10 flat. So just things to keep in mind. But this is looking pretty bullish. And again, just look at this. So on this weekly, we are over the 20 for the first time since May, actually, because this right here, we dropped here. So, wow, it's been, and look, there was an attempt, it started up here, but it ended, right? It's been a really long time since we've been over the 20 on the weekly. It doesn't look like, yeah, we actually are. We are over it. So there's still a lot of days in this week, right? Anything can happen between now and then. So it obviously needs to close up here by Friday. But very, very promising on INDO. So, yeah, just watch it. Again, a little high on the RSI, but some mean power behind it could be interesting. CEI. So this one actually, it didn't end as well as I. So look, it had a really nice attempt. It did not break this line, unfortunately, and actually, it didn't even break the 8 or the 20. I'm really surprised that this one was as low as it was. It does look like the RSI is finally peaking up a little bit more. MACD's been up here for a while, but if you watch these videos, I do like the RSI a little bit more than the MACD. So we're still, unfortunately, in this channel. And really, this thing needs to get over the red, I think, right? This 50 is probably going to be a pretty important break. But even this 38 cents would be a good break. But it's only 2 cents, right? I mean, there's not a lot of movement here. But CEI, I'm surprised this one didn't move as well. But again, look, we're under the 8 on the weekly, right? You want to be over the 8 at least on the weekly. Just if you're under the 8, that's a bad thing. And if on the weekly it's a bad thing, that means you're going to get several days of bad, right? So I've mentioned this a couple times. Use longer time frames to kind of guide you, but no new lines need to be drawn here, obviously. Did I need to draw new lines? No, I did not. We did that. So CEI. IMPP. So this one, I would say, got a better move, obviously, right? We're in the double digits. We broke 2 lines, and these ones were obviously close to each other, but we did break 2 lines. RSI is looking nice, right? We have a nice slope up. Not obviously, the red is kind of staying a little bit low, and we're nowhere near that 70 number. So IMPP could be a little bit safer bet. Clearly, I would say this 44 cent as well as this red, which looks like it's roughly, oh wow, look at that, it's at 44 cents. So, 44 is going to be a good wall, but that's actually 5%, right? 10% would have been 4 cents. 2 cents is 5%. So don't poo-poo some 5% here. But yeah, watch this one, because again, this one seems to be rolling a little better than CEI, not as good as INDO, but it actually did do a little better than OXY. And then look, we are starting to get, look, this is the first week it's there, and there's still several days before the weekends, right? So I definitely need some confirmation, but I think this 44 cent line is going to be really important. If we can break it, there's a couple red days here, right? We can at least almost run to this line, right? A break of the 44 would give a pretty good chance for a break of 50, a run to 55. So IMPP, this one's interesting. This one has a chance to move. Like I said, it did a little bit better than CEI, a little bit better than OXY. OXY, though, I think might be a little bit of a safer bet than IMPP. UEC, so moving away and more into the energy sector. So this is actually uranium specific. So, we talked about this one, right? It did really well. It broke all my lines, rode the 8, really didn't get that confirmation of that 420 break, and then just failed, right? Lost the 8 and almost every line every single day from there. So today was nice. Don't get me wrong. We're actually over the 50. We've got some good signals turning here. But again, I would definitely want some confirmation before I got in. And look, obviously, I'd want to get over the 8, right? My general rule is get over the 8. That's a rule number 1, right? So But yeah, big day. I'm not trying to say it wasn't a big day today. I just need some confirmation, right? Very easily, we could have just peaked over the 50 and get slapped back down. I do like this peaking RSI though. Again, it hasn't been months, but yeah, it's been a number of trading days. So hopefully it's calmed down and then good bounce off this 344. What does the weekly look like here? Okay, again, we're working our way up. There's a good little cluster here, right? So, again, I like to see the weekly have the end price over the 8, right? Because then that means my daily is going to be good. I'm always a little weary when the weekly is under the 8, right? Why do I want to trade daily on that if the weekly is not set up to look good, right? So, again, just my mindset, not financial advice, but a thing to think about. So again, just look at the 8 here, right? You could ride it if it goes up again tomorrow. Don't get me wrong, right? There was a little bit of a test today on this 371, but yeah, I think I'd wait. And really, even after the 8, there's such a cluster here. This is the safe line, right? It's 4. Because at 4, you'll pretty much break all of these on the daily. And don't get me wrong, I know you're throwing away a lot of money, but safety, there's a value to a safe trade. You know what I mean? So, but again, different people have different risk tolerances and different monies and different daddies and all that sort of stuff, right? So, hey, you never know who does what with their money and why. GEVO, again, just kind of the same thing we just saw with that uranium stock, right? A beautiful ride of the 8, got to the last line, failed it. Might be a bounce right here, but again, I'm a big fan of trading when we're over the 8, right? Because if I find a good trading over the 8, I could get this ride like this, right? That's really why I emphasize trading over the 8. When you find a good one, you get some confirmation, you're just going to ride it. And I'm telling you, days of riding it, you literally do nothing. You just buy it, you ride it. Once you fail it, you're out. But hey, look how much you made. Look how much you made, right? Like that's good. So trading the 8's a beautiful thing. Again, I would pretty much wait for something here. More than likely, I would almost even want to wait for a break of this because, again, I'm a little more trade safe than go big or go home, right? I think you've kind of caught that. I do like this, though. Look, the weekly's been over the 8, right? So there is chances of a continual run. Obviously, we've gone up and kind of gotten slapped down a little bit, but we've been over the 8 for a number of weeks, which is good. So a couple different ways to play it. Not as bullish. Obviously, I wish this was at least 50% of last week. We're well below 50% last week, let alone the bottom of last week. But, you know, still over the 8, so I would take that as a bit of a positive. And then the last one, every time I get to this one, I keep saying I'm going to break out lithium. We'll see if I do that or not. I obviously haven't. So LIACF, look, again, this one's a penny stock, right? So if the NASDAQ does well, this one should do well. If the NASDAQ does bad, it's really hard to expect a penny stock to do better than the major market, right? So we made a good run to the 50. We got slapped down. Obviously, we never even touched the 50, right? There was one real test here, but we made a decent run up. Again, with the markets and the fails, this is actually even on the weekly. Let me go to the daily. Sorry about that. Oh man, we did even better than that. So look, again, we rode the 8 to the 200, and I mentioned it last week. Often the 50 on the weekly and the 200 on the daily, they meet up. I don't know why. I've noticed that a number of times. But again, we make the ride up, hits it down. This is a little bit of a failure on the 200, but really a lot of it is just a failure on the NASDAQ, right? The NASDAQ's been a little rocky. It was obviously a little bit okay today, but nothing spectacular by any means, right? Yesterday was a rough start of the week. So, you know, if the NASDAQ's not going to do well, this is barely going to do well. If the NASDAQ does just a little bit okay, this actually did a little better than the NASDAQ too, right? So that's kind of how I always play these penny stocks, right? Just know where the markets are, and then you can do your thing with the pennies. But again, lithium, it's an energy. It's actually also part of the EV that I did last week, or yesterday, not last week. But, you know, lithium I do think is important, and not just this one, but there are a number of lithium stocks, and I do feel like it's worth a breakout. But again, just be careful more with the markets than anything. But you can see our RSI is not looking great already. We're under the 8 now. Hopefully we got caught by this 20. There's actually 2 moving averages and a line. But again, most signs are kind of showing it might go down, especially if the market keeps going down. And again, this just looks like the RSI is about to get lost, probably come down to this level. So yeah, this has been oil and energy. Again, oil rocked it. There's a good chance that it could keep going. Just watch volume and yeah, be safe out there.